Okay, welcome to our next installment of the SJP Speaker Series. Tonight we've got Angel Mendez from Red Tomato to share more about their work and the work that Red Tomato is doing as a food hub. I just want to give a quick little intro on SJ Feast for anyone watching who might be new. We've got the project is led by the Pinelands Preservation Alliance. Carlton, who is part of that team, is on the call tonight, and Jonathan and Kelvin, who are not here. And then in support of the project is the New Jersey Food Democracy Collaborative, which is myself and Janine Kava, who I'm sure all of you know. So I just want to share a quick our website really fast where you can find everything. So obviously SJF stands for South Jersey Farmers. Oh, got a typo right here. Farmers Equity and Sustainability Team. On our website, you can find more about our speaker series. We've got a lot coming up, and we've already done a couple. We are looking for more farmers to join. So if anyone watching this is a South Jersey farmer, not already part of SJ Feast or knows of some farmers in the area that would be interested, please reach out to Jonathan. And another piece of our project is the South Jersey Producer Survey, which is essentially to assess kind of the current market opportunities that South Jersey farmers have access to, and if they would be interested in expanding into this like farmer cooperative project that we're kind of considering. So that is my spiel for SJ Feast. Basically, the agenda is Angel will kind of take the first half of the call and give a rundown of Red Tomato, and then we'll have a lot of time for questions. So anyone here, feel free to jump in at any time, raise your hand, or put a question in the chat. Cool. Okay, Angel, it's all yours.
Awesome.
Do you have,
Thanks.
yes,
Thanks, Rachel. Thanks, everyone. Nice to meet you. Thanks for having me crash your party at the SJ Feast. Be happy to talk to you about Red Tomato. Give you a little bit about what I'll do is I'm going to share about 4 slides to talk to you about who we are, our business structure, our revenue streams, and then we'll go into some questions and kind of give you a picture of how we operate, how we show up in the world, all of that good stuff. So thank you for having me. Always happy to share. That's part of our DNA is at Red Tomato. Carlton?
Can I ask, can you turn up your microphone a little bit?
Let
It may
me
be my computer, but I'm having a hard time
all right,
hearing you.
let me try and I could also speak louder. So let me see what I got
I don't
here.
want to make you yell or anything.
yeah,
All right,
yell at us,
all
please.
right. I've got the right microphone. So let me see
I
if
know
I
I've got my volume up to the maximum.
and I've got mine up, but let me see if
You
there's a way
do?
to
Okay.
turn
It
up
may just be it may just be where my computer's at the moment.
oh, I can turn up the mic here.
Oh,
How's that?
that's it. Perfect.
All right. All right. I hope it's not too loud. I see
No,
the
no, that's great. Thank
green
you.
thing bubbling. All
Thanks,
right.
Angel.
All right.
Thank you.
So thank you, Rachel. As Rachel mentioned, my name is Angel Mendez. I'm the executive director at Red Tomato. Red Tomato is a decentralized food hub based in Providence, Rhode Island. We were formerly based in Massachusetts up until 2020. Red Tomatoes are about to celebrate 30 years
Oh,
doing this work. I've been with Red Tomato for about 24 years. Let me start to share some slides. I can tell you my story some other time, but I started out as warehouse manager, wore many hats at the organization, and stepped into the role of executive director in 2019. And yeah, I always joke and say I got lost in the sauce, but I'm here. So as I mentioned, Red Tomato is I call it a decentralized food hub, and the reason for calling it a decentral oh, hold on, I think wonder if am I sharing the correct screen? One sec, I don't think I am. All right, let me go back. Stop share screen number 2. There we go. All right. Now you guys can see the Red Tomato. Okay, to the slide.
Perfect.
So, all right, perfect. So the reason I call us a decentralized food hub is because Red Tomato sits in the middle of science, of IPM, Integrated Pest Management Center, and scientists from UMass Ag Extension, Cornell Ag Extension, all working closely with us and kind of with our growers and our networks and supporting some of the work. So we bring science together, we bring markets together and local regional supply in order to kind of develop to see the challenges that our focus is small and mid-sized family farms in the Northeast. And in order to, so we bring all of these groups together in order to try to diversify commodities in the marketplace in order to get growers fair prices and also more market access. That's pretty much our mission. I'll continue to talk to you about our programs that and how we do that. But I like to say I'm here to move cases for growers, and that's part of what we do. But we're big thinkers, so we're always doing a million things, and so I'll talk to you more about that now. But yeah, so who is Red Tomato? We're a mission-driven organization. Our mission is to connect farmers and consumers through marketing, trade, and education. We passionately believe that a farmer-focused, place-based, ecological, equitable food system is a powerful way to build a better world. The way that we work, we recognize that the current market structures aren't designed for the sustainability and small mid-sized family farms. So our focus is kind of we call it FMOM, is the farmers and markets of the middle, because we see that for small mid-sized family farms are too small to compete in the larger commercial marketplace, the polarized marketplace, and they're too large to compete in the direct to kind of retail marketplace. And it's really what we've noticed over the years of doing work with our large customers. Like we've been doing work with whole customers like Whole Foods since they were bred in circus. So now we're kind of on the journey with the Amazonification that's happening. And we're also we work with customers that you probably know, close competitor of Whole Foods. We're not supposed to say their name as part of our addendum, so I'll keep that silent. But we've been working with them for about 14 to 20 years. Whole Foods since they've been bred in circus, kind of Roach Brothers stores in the Metro Boston area, Performance Food Group, and some other small grocers. We do about and so we do about 5 million in annual produce, 5 million in sales annually of produce, aggregate and consolidating produce from small to mid-sized family farms. Where before I go into the bullet points, I'll just share a couple. Well, they're all there, so I'll just follow my follow my slides there. So our mission is to ensure the viability of small and mid-sized family farms. And as I said, we were born out of the fair trade movement. Our founder, Michael Rosine, is one of the three co-founders of coffee you may be aware of, Equal Exchange. Michael and two of his college buddies started Equal Exchange back in the early 90s, and where he wanted to support peasant farmers in the third world countries that weren't being able to get fair prices for coffee. Today, Equal Exchange is a big, one of the largest cooperative warehouses of coffee, about 80 million in sales, multi-state, and they continue to fight for fair trade as hard as it continues to get. Michael took a sabbatical in 96 and decided he wanted to address the problems of small, mid-sized family farms in the Northeast. That's where we were born out of that fair trade movement. Part of the way that we work with growers is that we work with growers in order we set up kind of an enterprise at Red Tomato. So we do real business in the marketplace, is what I had been mentioning. When we work with growers on pricing, we always work with growers trained to under promise and over deliver. We talk to growers about what's their dignity price. Dignity price being what's that price that if you go 25 cents or 10 cents below that price, it's no longer worth you harvesting or harvesting and moving that product. Then we try to find a premium. We want to be about $1 to $2 above that price. That's what we're trying to do in competitive, but value systems, we're practicing full transparency. We're sharing trucking costs with growers. We're sharing prices in marketplace, what it's going to take to move the product. I don't want to lose any opportunities for growers, so I want to make sure that I'm just sharing everything of the deal. And then we're a nonprofit. We're here to support the growers We operate on, so as we go into pricing a little bit before I go into our business structure, in order to support the economics and bring fair pricing to marketplace and communities, Red Tomato operates on a small margin of 10%. But that margin isn't just 10%, it's usually 20% from farm price. Reason it's 20% from farm price, I spent most of my time at Red Tomato in operations, developing logistics models. So I used to cringe that Red Tomato for all the work that we were doing and promoting, differentiating products, marketing really hard, building supply chains. We were pulling 10% margin and I would pay 10% to truckers. So we're usually 20% from farm price, 10% for trucking, 10% for Red Tomato. And as I had mentioned, we had started out with a warehouse and trucks back in 2001. I was the lone survivor of the warehouse. We gave up our trucks and warehouse in 2002 because the warehouse was taken away. The warehouse and overhead costs, cooler freezes, forklift breakdowns, unexpected, timing with trucks on the road, overtime, all of those costs were taken away the ability for us to focus on the mission. And it was really focused on infrastructure now. So we realized that there's existing infrastructure out there, that farmers had coolers, trucks, and there's independent fruit and dairy distributors with room on their trucks. So we made a bold move in 2001. I was a year in as warehouse manager, and we made a bold move to lease out our warehouse space, return our trucks. Warehouse employees got laid off. I came into the warehouse as the lone survivor to do logistics and bookkeeping and study finance and stuff like that. So out of that, so what we do is we start at 20% from farm price, and through efficiencies of logistics and volume and collaborating supply, we try to bring that 20% down to 15%, 13%, which allows us to then either pay the grower more or make the economics work by making logistics work because we've got the extra margin to deliver small quantities in places that don't have back rooms, coolers, and things, etc. So that's a little bit about the pricing, a little bit more with the pricing structure and logistics, and we'll go more into it, but just giving you more to kind of prod some questions. And then our business structure, we're a nonprofit, as I mentioned, we're a 501(c)(3). And so you say, how do these guys 501(c)(3) and they sell to Whole Foods? And part of it is that our revenue streams are 50%, usually 50% derived from a 10% margin in sales. So if you look at a $5 million annual sales, we're about 1 million on the bottom line of the budget. So that's about a 500,000 comes in from 10% at 5 million in produce sales, and then another 500,000 comes in from fundraising. And that's our fundraising is a mix of small amount of government grants, and I'm glad that we're not so dependent on that right now, which is why we're not in a bad place given these times, and I don't even like to talk about it too loud. But we're smaller dependent on government grants. We have some individual donors and then foundations that have been supporting that other 50%. We're constantly we move kind of 60/40, 50/50 with that revenue. And we're constantly trying to build and diversify that revenue. Right now, I'm in growth mode trying to take Red Tomato to 10 million. So we're investing heavily in marketing and sales. And I'll tell you a little bit more of how we're branching out now to be more than just local and the regional. We're kind of moving some of the programs to national just because of the need to make real systems change. So I'll explain some of that in a second. So 50% sales, 50% grants. And then we've been always, like I said, part of our DNA has always been to share whether new pilots or experiments succeed or fail. It's always been important to Red Tomato to share all of that out with the greater food system so that if things are successful, other people are adopting new prototypes. That's real systems change. If things don't succeed, we're saving you from reinventing the wheel. Allocate your resources on the next challenge. Let's share, what comes out of that together. We're really big on collaboration. It's one of our major tools. Probably call that a revenue stream if it works well. Um, and like I mentioned, we're non-asset based. We don't own any trucks. We don't have any coolers. We have a small office space in Providence, Rhode Island. A lot of us since the pandemic are working mostly remotely. We work closely with our growers. We've developed relationships, long-term relationships with distribution partners, and our growers also distribute as well. And I could talk to you guys about how trucking works when we get a little. Just give me when we get a little further into the questions. So. We coordinate a network of about 40 plus wholesale farms in the Northeast. And now we're moving, like I said, and I'll talk to you more about that, but some of our initiative programs and our sales programs, our wholesale program has us moving a little further out the Northeast because there's power in numbers, guerrilla marketing. Also, part of the market access is saying that we need more market data on eco certified in order to start to really take eco certified to the next level. And we see eco certified as something to support conventional growers that can't grow organic at high yields due to moist pressure in these parts of the region, Northeast and the Midwest. And so we want those growers to, but they're small, mid-sized growers that need a little more than conventional because organic has a price race to the bottom, and those growers can't survive off of conventional prices when organic is tanking the price to the bottom from the West Coast. So so 40% of wholesale growers, and we're starting to move. We've got growers right now in Michigan, Illinois, California, North Carolina, and Georgia as well. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But our main gig is we aggregate, we market, we develop, we do some branding. We've built a brand. We aggregate, distribute. We try to differentiate commodities in the marketplace, and we provide marketing support to our growers and our partners. And then that's kind of in our distribution side. Then we have our other distribution arms that are part of our initiative work. It's just a little picture of the map, kind of us in New England, but now we're spreading a little further than that with the work. Like I said, I was just in Michigan marketing apples. Those are eco-certified apples. They have to be a local apple. So we're working with a grower in Michigan that's developing eco-certified apples. We're also in Weaver Street markets in North Carolina, and we've got a grower out there in North Carolina that's growing eco-certified under the protocol that we developed with scientists since 2005. Um, so just a picture of when things work, what a beautiful farm stand could look like of local produce aggregated from multiple farms. That's all red tomato produce on this top picture here in one of the Hannaford stores when we were doing a direct store door program, delivering to like 38 of their stores and aggregating supply from a ton of vegetable growers in Western Mass and fruit growers in Connecticut, and also bringing some produce down from Hudson, New York. So it was like a multiple kind of scenario of aggregation and delivery. And then when we're trying to make things work, this is me in the warehouse ensuring that some of these big orders are going out. So I'm at the farm. This is Plainville Farm we're at, and that's also Dana Clark from Clark Orchard. So we got another farmer over there. Everybody, farmers all work together to get the product out. We've got grapes from Clark Orchards. These are some of the farm workers there, and Wally Sykowski up here on the left, couple farmers there, and Lyman Orchards Farm Stand. Just a picture of Lyman Orchards in Connecticut, one of them that we work with. But just to wrap this part up, four distribution arms is how we show up in the world today. We've got our farm to wholesale distribution. I don't think they can see you in my background. This is my daughter walking by. But we got our farm to wholesale distribution centers. That's where we're connecting. That's actually the easier part of the work because it's usually more volume. So we're working with aggregating supply from farmers, and bringing that direct to wholesale distribution centers for customers like Whole Foods and other big box, not big box, but other bigger grocers. We've got our farm direct to retail when we're doing like direct store door delivery, and we're aggregating supply and delivering direct to some of those retail stores as and skipping the warehouse. Then we have farm to food hub, and we're working with food hubs on collaboration, but also collaborating supply, selling to food hubs and buying from food hubs at times where it makes sense. And then the other program is our farm to food access. And so we're develop programs where we have a project right now that's a big one for us. That's part the one that's going taking us national. We're working with Makoche in South Dakota and the Pine Ridge. We're working with Texas small farmers and ranchers. We're working with folks in Buffalo, New York. We're working Panama City, Florida. I could go on and on, but we're helping develop bypass. Initially, the term came from uh, bypassing the retailer that marks your produce up 80 to 100% to kind of work with folks that are on the ground to start at a 20% markup, collaborate all of the what I call community food distributors, food pantries, all of these folks in communities that are ordering food at small amounts and don't have big back rooms. Try to get them to all order off of one truck so we can take that 20% markup down to 13% and make fresh farm food affordable and accessible to all socioeconomic levels. So we've been doing that, and we started the prototype in Connecticut. And as we continue to develop the prototype in Connecticut, we've added dairy and protein in order to put volume on those trucks, and trying to bring more partners together. But we've been disseminating that prototype across the U.S. and in a good time right now where people are losing funding or people can't get infrastructure, but they've got demand and there's supply. There's trucks out there and there's coolers. So like, let's teach you what we've been doing. Let's make it work. Let's get through these next 4 years. So
Angel,
yeah,
can I slow you down?
sure.
Could we go through each of these in a little more detail? It would be
Yeah.
very helpful. Like for the farm to wholesale distribution centers, I think you said this is for like the grocery store chains where they will pick up from a distribution center. So you're
So
supplying,
yeah, so what happens, I'll break them down to you. I'll go
okay,
slow and break those down. So for farm to wholesale distribution centers, it's like so each grocer, Stop and Shop, Whole Foods, Market Basket, they all have their big distribution center
okay.
where all their produce goes in, and then it goes in on their smaller trucks and goes out to all their stores. That's the best kind of model because that's where you streamline distribution and you could bring in large volume to go out to multiple stores. So we usually, and it's harder to get into the distribution center. Sometimes we use the strategy of saying, give us 5 of your stores. Let us show you what a local program we can put in there. And then when they really like it, we say, okay, now let's streamline this. Let's get the price down. Let's bring it through wholesale distribution.
So that's the case where the issue is they want high volume, highly predictable supply. And that's the
Yeah,
role that Red Tomato can play is getting the volume high enough by working with a number of different growers and putting it all together, bringing it to the distribution center.
exactly. So right now for us, like even though we're named Red Tomato, we sell more apples than anything. So we do about 2.6, 2.7
Oh,
million of apples. We've got a large, and part of being strong in that apple game is having a good supply of Honeycrisp, right? So if you got really good amount of Honeycrisp, then you can start to bring other varieties, and you've got a good stable program for them because they want a lot of Honeycrisp and they want you to be able to fill the other varieties. And then our magic is doing all that small sourcing from small farmers showing up at the back door just like California. They don't see none of the mess in the back. We come in, same box, same brand, eco certified, different farm names all over it, but all looks the same, you know.
okay.
So when they put it all out, we're kind of we're what those big commercial what their systems aren't set up to do, we do in the background to support collaborating supply for small farms to be able to tackle some of these rising input costs. You
And
know, yeah.
like, what does that logistically look like now that you don't have your own fleet? Like, are you sending, are all the farms kind of aggregating at one larger farm and then
So that's a
you're
great
trusting?
question. So I'll give you the detail there, which is Um, So usually our farms are set up and they're kind of in clusters. And although we work with them annually, we have a big farmer grower meeting. We're bringing them all together annually. We nurture our network, but they work kind of like as an informal cooperative. There's clusters of farms in each area: Connecticut, Vermont, Maine, New Hampshire. So when we're sourcing, if there's 2 to 3 farms, we don't want to be more than 10% of any farm's whole business, because we don't want the farm to go under because of us. We want to add value. We want to bring a fair market, right? And so we're working with them, and there's 2 to 3 farms, and depending, they're always packing for other people, their other orders. So depending who's got the capacity, who's got the room, who might have the truck, we decide, okay, you three are going to bring in the 500 McCowans and 600 Honeycrisp, and you're going to pack 150, you're going to pack 200. We will know through talking with them which farms got the space. Then we'll tell those other 2 farms. So say we take the order on Monday. Monday, they're putting that order together on Tuesday. They're instructed to get it over to the second to the consolidating farm by 1 p.m. or by a certain time, so that the truck is coming after that time to pick up all the product at one place. So the farmers bring all their product together. But one thing that's important to say is the tier that I start with on non-asset based distribution is that we want to keep the money in the hands of the farmers. So when there's one farm, farmers have trucks too.
Yeah.
Sometimes they can truck to the distribution center and things because it's really close by, especially for our Connecticut growers. So if there's one farmer and the premium that we've put in the pricing for trucking, usually around 250 per case. So that 250 that farmer would make his trucking premium that he wouldn't get if somebody else was trucking it. But he also gets, for the other 300-400 cases that he's carrying for those other growers, he gets that trucking premium per case. So now he's really shipping for free and making more profit, and they share that. So that's a value. We always look at ways to try to add value. So we start with the farmers first. If they don't have the truck, then we have independent distributors that we set up in each area. And those independents give us really good rates, and they'll pick up at farms, they'll aggregate, they'll distribute. The other thing is when we don't have those options is when we go out to third party carriers, third party logistics. But usually it's the farmer and independent distributors where we really set up the long-term distribution like that. So just to keep going on quickly, I'll just say farm. So you got the farm to wholesale, that's farm to distribution center. Farm to retail is for those big distribution centers, like say, for example, a Whole Foods. When we start strawberries for Whole Foods, our local strawberries are one of the most sensitive items. That sometimes they've got water. We don't want them handled many times. We want a customer to have the best experience with the first product coming out in June, only available for like 2.5 weeks, the local strawberry. So we tell Whole Foods we want to deliver those direct to the stores, and so we deliver to 23 stores on a 2 delivery cycles. So we split those 23 stores in half and deliver Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. And those go direct into the stores. That's direct to retail. Farm to Food Hub is,
But
yeah,
are you buying the strawberries from the farmer and then reselling to Whole Foods
yeah,
or
yeah.
whatever? Okay.
Exactly. So we buy from the farmer, we secure payment, do all the accounting. The farmer doesn't have to worry about collecting from the customer. We try to pay farmers within 30 days, but we usually pay sooner. But that's our terms, is 30 for farmers, 14 for customers.
Got it.
Unless they're, of course, institutions take 50 to 80 days
Yeah.
to pay. So
Yeah.
you just got to kind of budget for that if you
Yeah.
want to do that work. So
And
yeah.
I'm sorry, one more question on this. Well,
Go for
actually
it.
lots of questions, but
Keep them coming. I'm
so
I'm
how
I'm
do
gonna
you
go with
yeah.
where you guys take me now.
Okay. I think it's this like wholesale and retail piece we're really interested in too. But okay, so you're buying from multiple farmers. What does packaging look like? And are you supplying like a label? Like, is it one label across all farms? Are you giving them that label? Can you just break that down some more?
So we don't brand everything. That's the first thing I'll say is
Okay.
so we developed a filter for like what products we want to brand.
Okay.
I think there's a bunch of uh criteria there, volume,
Cool.
product,
Mhm.
this and that. We don't have to brand everything, but we don't brand everything, but when we do brand, The way that the packaging works is we work closely with the growers on everything. So we work with them. If we're bidding for a price, the growers are part, we're doing the bid with them. We're not telling them this is they're helping us get to the bid number. They know the competition, they do everything. So when we're doing packaging, we're small. And so what we do with the growers is in order to try to get them a better deal. One of the things we do is we pull the purchasing of the packaging so that we can get a better deal for the packaging. But we've got a creative art director does all this design that you see behind me, all the red tomato stuff. She used to work for Patagonia. She's been with Red Tomato since before my time. So we're really lucky to have her. Makes us look really good as a small outfit. And so she does all the artwork and design and working with the growers. We place orders on what packaging is needed for customers, but the growers are paying for packaging as it's part of the deal. But we'll take back, like if we won't want them to hold on inventory, we could buy inventory back from them at the year end and hold it, and then sell them the inventory as orders come in. So, and that's how we usually do. But all of the packaging development, they're included to an extent, and then we kind of do the artwork and develop the messaging, the branding, and the taglines and righteous
Cool.
produce, local done right, all of that stuff. We share everything with them, get their approval, but we work on all of that stuff. Yeah.
And then while you're talking, it brought up something else. You mentioned like uh, going for a bid. Is that how you typically work with like these larger institutional buyers? Like you bid for a contract of some sort or bid for a season?
So, with one of our large wholesale customers, we're always part of why I've been working hard to build up the initiatives to kind of diversify our sales because it's working. So keep my fingers crossed. But part of them is it's always like walking on eggshells when you got a bid and you've got growers ready and planning for a
Yeah.
season, So with one of our wholesale customers that we have to bid on so far, I know there'll be some bids probably around some of our institutional work. But most of our other work with like Whole Foods, we don't bid. So we make arrangements. We've been serving them for years. They let us know kind of we evaluate every year, get a sense of volume for the following year, and
Oh,
then
okay.
we plan with growers accordingly based on what we think we're going to move. We're kind of getting availability from them. Our supply chain manager is getting their availability on certain varieties, putting that all together and putting a map together based on the accounts because there's a lot of volume in the wholesale accounts. And so in those accounts, we got to kind of get commitments around certain varieties, Honeycrisp, Gala. We got to know what's going to be available so that we can line it up.
Right.
All of that stuff is, you know, those growers have the food safety and the things that have to be aligned for those accounts. So all of that comes with it, availability, the food safety, the ones that can sell to certain accounts, things like that. All of that stuff is part of it. They'll have some growers who have less food safety, try to use some of the account sales as incentives for them to bring that
Right.
up, and kind of and work with them on that. Yeah. So I'll just say farm direct to retail
Yeah.
is that the direct store door. Farm to food hub is just us selling to other food hubs and also buying from other food hubs or collaborating with them. Like we just developed some apple slices for Eco Certified. Our food access manager has developed that. She's doing some really cool things. And so we're working with like Farm Fresh Rhode Island to set them up with like some apple slices and hopefully move their growers to eco certified. And so there's collaborations like that. There's collaborations around buying, there could be collaborations around trucking. So that's kind of Food Hub shows up in sales and collaboration. And the farm to direct access is the stuff where we're serving schools, institutions, hospitals, food pantries. It's amazing that you see these food pantries get 10 to 100,000 plus budgets annually and they have to spend it on food, but the food bank is supposed to be the connection. The food bank doesn't always work, and so you find them making large purchases at big box retailers like Restaurant Depot and BJ's Wholesale, and then again like wilted produce out to the people when you see it in the coolers. And so we're trying to work with them to get them local when it's in season, and so kind of trying to change that part of the supply chain. And so that's where our farm direct access comes in, is that those are more of the places that don't really have storage rooms and need small orders. And so in order to make that possible, you collaborate all their ordering, combine all of that ordering and make it all work that way through scale. So that's what we've been doing kind of with the bypass project. And the bypass project, I think what's been most valuable about the bypass project is not just the ability to collaborate, help people develop food systems based on what's going on in their landscape. I think what's been most valuable is the ability, the methodology that we use for network and for systems change, kind of bringing a coalition together of, we call it the coalition of the necessary, based on the challenge, focus on desirability and not feasibility. And then we take them into minimal viable systems or minimal viable solution. And we get them all, because this is where collaboration really happens. People try to collaborate, they come in with these big hearts, and then collaboration, when the rubber hits the road, it kind of slows down. But if you get people to move toward a minimal viable system experiment, then when there's tangible things and you say, look what happened, this what happened, this is what we need, this is what we're going to get, and people then, oh, I got that, I got this, okay, we can do that, and then things start to come together and you start to build systems change with minimal risk, because you're starting to see at a small scale all of the things that you need to learn in order to build that system implementation or systems change. So that's what we've developed as we've been building bypass in Connecticut. And now we're disseminating that along with a consultant who's been working with us, who's really good. He's comes from this organization called Rios Partners, but now he's on his own thing. And they kind of take political collaboration methodology into social collaborations. Folks that been in rooms with like Nelson Mandela and things like that, and been able to take that methodology into social collaboration, which is really effective. And that's why I'm having fun with it around the US right now. So that it's so through the MVS, it allows us to do this work with capacity. So within our capacity, so we've in our non-asset base allows us to work with multi-states and help people develop systems. If they don't have somebody on the ground to develop the distribution, we can work on that from anywhere in the US, because we know how to set up non-asset based distribution. And so that's what that's how it's been working. So I'm proud to say that Makoche Agriculture Development in Pine Ridge just did a first delivery for scratch meals into one of their schools. They fed 77 children with their poultry and some veg and some cottage vendors on the reservation. So, and now we're going to go into a second layer of that experiment and try to bring local carts into the 13 grocery stores on the reservation. Long-term vision that the 9 reservations are growing food and bringing food across each other. So that's one that I'm really passionate about. In Texas, they just ran their MVS, which was to bring a bunch of urban farmers collective and cottage vendors to bring food into a farmer's market and into a school. And that's the start, worked well, learned a lot. And now we'll start building from there. And Panama City, Florida, similar project. So there's a lot going on, and we're just trying to help and feel like it's a good time to disseminate this work. And we've doing this work for 30 years, just feel like we've done these iterations of these projects like 10 to 20 times. So I don't want to do more of those. I want to do it here and share it out widely, so that if 5, 6 states adopt it, then we can really say we're creating systems change and not just showing you that we can do it out here. So that's where we're at. So right now, last thing I'll say is our two focuses at the organization is eco certified and food access right now. So that's kind of where we're putting our support to farmers and markets of the middle.
Wow, there's a lot there. I mean, a few immediate, like one question I was thinking about while you're talking is like, how do you guys keep all this organized? Like, do you have a system to use, or like, is it all just phone and
Yeah, so
napkins or
first I'd say give a lot of credit to our planning. We do a lot of planning and our strategic planning, and we always keep the plans really live. So now this minimum viable solution system that we've been using, we're starting to adopt that methodology into our whole new strategic plan. And so we'll be looking at every area of our work and testing assumptions through these MVS experiments in order so we'll move forward more strategic, more calculated. We're a small team of eight. We've invested in a distribution software years ago because we started out with Excel spreadsheets, and then Google came and it was like, oh man, we could be on a spreadsheet at the same time. So it was like super. But then we finally invested in a software that was called Edibles Solutions, and Edible software. They changed the name to Fresh Bite software, but it's fully scalable. I mean, we're barely scratching the surface, so it really takes our order processing from taking 10 hours to process 5 orders down to an hour, and really gives us the ability to have real-time financials, and be able to see margins, metrics, all of that stuff in real time. Because even when you're waiting for the trucker bills, the system is set up that the operations manager has to put in the trucking costs or estimates, and those it has a placeholder for that to calculate margin while the bill comes in, so that you could always see. We look at real time margin weekly and monthly, and we're always looking at contribution margin as a way to understand where we're taking risk, how much of that contribution, how much risk we can take before that starts to pull on our small 10% margin, and then so we can use that to make decisions. So between that and just a lot of that software, and then try to keep everything in system and a good standard operating procedures that we developed over the years that needs updating, but we've got a Bible of standard operating procedures that we put on paper and continue to try to institutionalize things that's in Michael and my head, so that we can get it on paper so that we can be passing succession on of this organization. I like part of why I stepped into the ED role is I don't see a David and Goliath moment for small farmers, given the way small farmers in the Northeast collaborate less than farmers on the West Coast that are 5, 10 times their size and move all their product into ton centers. Farmers in the Northeast are trying to handle markets on their own, and you need hubs to collaborate supply, whether it's a cooperative for the farmers or a hub that collaborates supply and helps remove some of those back end costs out, has buying power, has leverage, a lot of ways to remove some of the input costs because the margins are really small on produce. So yeah, that's kind of what we're doing.
The software you use both for the relationship with the growers and for the relationship with the buyers, it does both sides of the transactions.
No, so that's a good question too, because it's hybrid organization, right? So it's not like a regular organization where you'd have your buyers and you have your sellers, right? We have to, because of we learned this in the early years, that we had to build strong communication loops and strong feedback loops, especially starting to be a virtual hub. And local farming is more personalized. So our we don't have a buyer and a seller. We have supply chain manager. Where that term came from is the supply chain manager that's working with the wholesale accounts works with the farmers so she works both sides, accounts and supply, for with the farmers that are supplying those wholesale accounts. So that person is taking orders, talking to the farmers. If she get feedback from the customer, they're talking to the farmer feedback to the customer. There's loops that go to the supply chain, to the truckers, everything. Same thing for our direct to retail. That's more vegetable movement, more smaller orders. But that food access manager is the buyer and the purchaser. So they're holding those relationships, and they're talking to the farms and the buyer. Logistics only, our operations only steps in for logistics. if the farmer's not trucking, because we try to minimize communication with the farmers. We don't want three people calling them then,
Right.
because we got to provide an ease of business in order to work with farmers. So we want it to be as easy as the big box guy that they're buying from that makes their ordering easy. So if the purchasers talk, if that one person is handling both sides, streamline communication for the farmer. The only time the farmer hears from operations is if logistics is another truck is picking it up, not the farmer trucking. If we got another truck, then they know that logistics will step in. But we try to minimize communication and enhance feedback loops as part of the strategy. Yeah,
Yeah,
that makes
and
it
this
work.
this is getting probably nitty-gritty, but like I mean, I'm just like logistically thinking about, are people using like their personal phones, or do you have, like you mentioned, people are remote, like, yeah, how does
Yeah, so
that
we've got
figure
Red
out?
Tomato, we got a mobile phone plan. So we
Oh,
cover
nice.
people's mobile phones on the team. They got a choice either to join the Verizon plan and they get a mobile phone covered through Red Tomato, or they get a $40 reimbursement toward their own phone monthly. And so that's how we've always done it.
Yeah.
Small team, we don't got 15 people
Yeah,
using
of course,
it.
of course. But yeah,
Small
that makes
team. Yeah.
sense because like obviously when someone has your personal number, it's you could be contacted at all hours of the day. So,
And then we use a software that's probably not the best one for contact database. It's a CRM called Insightly, but
okay.
it comes, I think, from the Google platform. But Insightly holds over 2,000 plus of our business contacts, and so people don't have to put all those business because the phone, even
Yeah.
though it's a Red Tomato phone, becomes people don't want to have two phones. It becomes their phone, right? So
Mhm.
they don't have to have all the contacts on the phone. The contacts live on an app that you can access from the phone,
Cool.
but they don't have to, flood the phone. It works, and so we are in the office. I require folks to be in the office every Thursday for our weekly team meetings, and then like we were just five of us. We're just in the Midwest for 7 days, so like we're moving around at farms, and then we start with a Monday check-in for 30 minutes since the pandemic to make sure everybody comes together, talks about their weekend, what they're working on, any support they need. And then there's multiple team meetings throughout the week. So people are seeing each other and working just as hard as in the office. I don't see any issues with outcomes. I just actually got a really happy workplace and good workplace culture where people are working really hard. It's 7 full-time equivalents. Yeah, doing all this work. So yes, and then and the initiative work is like a whole nother side. And then we've got half of our team doing the eco certified, half of our team doing the initiative stuff of supply chain. And then we come together at times because those supply chains are moving in the Midwest and in similar places. So it gives us the ability to have more traffic in different parts of the region, more traffic, more ability to save costs through logistics. And marketing is we're always looking for opportunity to differentiate through marketing. And so that's what we're doing with them.
Cool. Yeah, I didn't realize you guys were such a small team. That's very efficient.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, we're small, non-asset based, so we didn't have to as the pandemic and people were really moving to kind of scramble to kind of understand the new ways of doing business. We were more waiting to see what happened with the stores as we kind of just reset our relationships with our distributors and moved right into the next thing. So it's if I like I'd say the model is pretty resilient. I think it's part of what you wanted me to talk about. And I'd say I think the model's been resilient for us. Part of what I've been sharing is that I think of 50% development model and 50% enterprise model has been resilient because you build surplus through the enterprise. So in some of the years where we lost our shirts and in 2019 when I became executive director, we lost about 30-40% of our sales right at the brink of harvest. A customer cut us off and it was a tough time for
Oh
growth.
man.
And we lost 30-40% of our staff. So in that time to kind of restructure, the only thing that got us through was the surplus from operations was able to hold us for a year or two as we started to build things up, regain customer sales, and brought back in development. So, and development, it's important to note because some people think that our fundraising is how we do sales or supports our transaction, and it doesn't. Our fundraising really supports what the corporate world would call R&D. It's really research and development around exploring, piloting new ways of doing business or doing things like this. I do a lot of keynotes. I mentor food hubs across the U.S. I share a lot around food systems work and also what it is to be a Latino coming up in this work for folks that feel like they need that as well. So that's part of our DNA, is part of our work as a nonprofit, is to these are programs, these are distribution programs. They're not distributions, right? They're programs that we're learning from the challenges, and we're trying to create system change ways to address those challenges for better food systems across the U.S.
Really cool. I appreciate that breakdown. Does anyone else have any questions?
I just had a quick question, and it could be a stupid question.
Never. Never
No.
stupid.
I just from listening, I mean, like you hear Whole Foods, and I'm thinking like large quantities. So my question is, do you have like a set of standards or rules or, quantities that the farm has to meet in order for you to buy from them and to distribute? Or do you literally take whatever somebody, any farm that comes to you that I have to offer that you can make work?
Yeah, so for certain, like I mentioned before, for certain accounts, we'd have to, like for Whole Foods or those accounts, there's an expectation of quality that needs to go in there by the customer. So we're working with a set of growers. We've developed the eco certification. So there are third-party certifiers that go on farms annually to certify these orchards, to that they're check their spray records and all of that stuff so that they're certified. But we also, these growers are wholesale growers that are working for those accounts. So for our wholesale accounts, those growers, they understand the standards that the customers have, like they have grade A fancy or things like that. Like we can't, there's markets to bring up the good, bad, and the ugly fruit. We have markets. We do move that stuff, but we align the growers with the markets that the product is available for. And usually, when we're going to meet new growers, we're looking at we have our standards of what we're looking for, and some of that we're always driven by demand. So we've always come to the growers with what demand is really informing us is needed in order to move the product. So we work with growers in that way, but we always usually talk to those growers because we're adding to their network. We're all one brand. So we say, we need some more volume. Who do you refer us to that grows like you, that has the same kind of standards, same soil protection, same love for the land, water, and sustainable practices? And then we go and visit them, inspect it, and kind of a process before we get going. But there's other instances where we're working with urban farmers, and we've got an urban farmer in Connecticut that grows microgreens. We're bringing those into schools and places like that where we can bring them to. We can't bring them to these wholesale markets, but we'll bring them to those places. And one other thing that you had asked me, Rachel, was to talk about, like, do we have contracts with the suppliers? And we don't. So more verbal contracts. I don't know. A lot of things are seeming people moving to like written things in these days, but our contracts have always been, verbal agreements with growers, and we develop trust with growers because all food systems change work moves at the speed of trust.
So you're not making a commitment to a grower for the season that will buy X amount from you throughout the season.
Oh, for depending on the programs, for our wholesale programs, yeah, we're talking to those growers and we're planning, and we're saying this is the volume, these are the orders we're expecting this season, and we're trying to get growers to let us know what availability they're going to have for us, So as those orders come in and we're communicating to them about,
But
yeah,
there's
so we're planning, yeah.
but there's no contract where you're each committing to the other for a given.
No contract, just more like they see our Excel sheet that we're showing them what they told us was available and how we're planning on it, but we don't have like a written contract, no.
Um, you're not I guess there's such a thing in law as a like a handshake contract. So
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, you are really focused on your relationship. So neither you nor your growers are trying to screw each other, right? So it's kind
No,
of like
no.
this kind of a given that what you say and what they say is kind of going to work out. Basically, you're just not putting it on paper.
Yeah, and we do have, yeah, exactly. And we do have, it is a handshake contract because we are working out price and everything ahead of time. And so I just wanted to show you guys something if I can do it really quick here. Let me see if I got one of these old whiteboards that I might have here. But I just show you kind of a breakdown of how we do pricing. But this is yeah, I think I got one here. See what happens here. Okay. Yeah, so if you see here, it's pretty much it's kind of how pricing works. It's like you've got your freight on board price, that's the farmer price. Truck one, truck two could be like a cross dock, when you're moving product to one place to the other. So that's a cross dock charge per case, delivery charge per case. Then you got the percentage that this is what I was probably somebody I was telling, but that would be red tomato percentage. So you're trying to take 10% from the sell price and then break it down to come up. And I don't, pardon my math because I'm not looking at the math right now, but it should work. But 2190, 2240, 2340. Yeah. So yeah. So then that's usually how we break it down. And we're usually driven from demand. So we're looking to see what price we need to be at to get movement and where we want to be competitive. We're not just taking the price. And then where we feel like we can offer a really good price, we start there, work our way back and try to figure out through logistics where we need to be in order. And even if we feel like we need these logistics and the cost of logistics isn't there right now, we know what we need to work up to and we could still make the sale, get the product there, and then work on feasibility.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know what that pricing was for, but um, if our customers paying that higher price? And has that been a challenge to get?
So in the past, we were able to get really, we were able to really strike the premium. Now we're getting good prices. Like we might be equal or better than some of our growers' regular mainstream markets, but not where we want to be. It's really competitive in the wholesale, but that's part of why we're focused on the farmers and markets of the middle, because that's where we feel like we can get them the price and that's part of like where we can actually tell the story. Marketing has changed, and in these bigger wholesale outfits, even Whole Foods with the Amazon takeover, a lot of the signage and everything is generic, and it's a lot harder to tell a story. And if you can't tell the story or the alternative story, then you can't really differentiate. And that's where that's flavor also is a big deal, right? Flavor, quality, customer experience, but you have to be able to tell the story with that, in order to differentiate. So we see that happen in farmers markets of the markets of the middle. That's why we're aiming for more family groceries, like Bush's Market, it's a 16 family grocery in Michigan. We started to do some sales with Misfits just recently, and we're knocking down doors. We'll be at the NGA trade show, I think, is where most of those small grocers go in Vegas soon. So we're sending a team up there to kind of meet a lot more of those markets and try to sell eco certified. We want eco certified to be the next thing next to organic for conventional growers. So That's our mission.
Are the eco certified standards available online, or can you
You
share
should be
that?
able to find the protocol on our website.
Okay.
And we do only eco certified on apples and peaches right now. The rest is like, so that's our marketplace brand and Red Tomato, Righteous Produce and Food Systems.
Cool.
Yeah,
Well, look at that. Well,
awesome.
thank you so much, Angel. This is really great. You're extremely helpful and very impressive operation you all have.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I can't believe over how much you've accomplished with having a small but mighty team. Yeah, it's impressive. Anyone else before we start wrapping up? Any more questions that we can ask Angel while they're here? Cool.
As you can see,
Well,
I get real passionate. There's so much more to tell you, right?
I
So
know.
I try to
yeah,
just tell you so. So I just want you guys to know, anytime, feel free to reach out,
That's great.
get a Zoom, a one-on-one. If you want to pick our brain about any specific thing you're working on, we're here to help. We're here to share everything that we've learned over these years. And, that's why I'm trying to get as much out of Michael. Michael's right now enjoying himself because he's the visionary behind Eco Certified, and he's now getting to be just leading that program and doesn't have to do all this other stuff. So he's having a lot of fun with that. I'm having a lot of fun with the bypass project, and we're just it's really good to not have to worry about the assets at times. So we just get to do systems change and yeah, and take care of ourselves.
Very generous of you. I think we all need to digest some of this information, but I am pretty sure we're going to be coming back to you with more questions and more conversation.
definitely.
Be
Yeah.
well, my friends. Nice to see you
You
all.
too.
Thanks for
Thank
having me.
you all.
Good
Appreciate
night,
it. Have a good
everybody.
night.
Good
Thank
night.
you.